Back to school, Platte River Academy. Actually, welcome to the Back to School Town Hall meeting. We're so glad you tuned in tonight. We hope that everybody is having a great summer and enjoying some good family times. Tonight, we want to bring you our plan for opening the year. And there's a lot of information to digest. So we will try to be as clear as we can, and just know that we'll be sending out an email at the end of tonight's presentation so that you can see stuff a little more close up and kind of review content. So I just want to open by recognizing that one of our greatest attributes as a school is our community. It's this collection of parents and students and staff coming together in the interest of growing every learner. Evidence of this is seen in your continued engagement, you tuning in tonight for one thing, and also your ongoing investment in your child's education. Our commitment as we enter this unusual and unbelievable school year is to re-engage as a community. The conditions surrounding us may have changed, but our focus is still the same: to create relationships that promote growing our learners. It's all about relationships. It's all about those connections. Our goal and theme this year is committed to community. In order to accomplish this goal, we need everyone to get curious, get creative, get collaborative. As a community, Platte River Academy can absolutely do this.
Well, hello, this is Alan McQueen, here with Mrs. Bonner, and we are here to talk through quite a few different aspects, and we want to break this all down for you. But most importantly, we want you to know that all of our decisions have been based on consistent and comprehensive body of evidence, all of which is available on our website, in an e-learning page, and in an email that you will receive following tonight's town hall. Now, we've shared this plan with teachers and staff, our governing board, parents, in a think tank, and anticipate the need to continue to be flexible as new information becomes available. Knowing that there are many conditions out of our control, and knowing that the mindset is going to be critical to finding the best solutions. This will require everyone to adopt a mindset that includes getting curious, getting creative, and getting collaborative. And through these strategies, we can deliver the quality academic program in a safe, orderly, and caring environment that you have come to expect.
During the process of developing this plan, which has really begun, this work began before school was even dismissed in May. It's been this ongoing learning process. But at the very beginning, we established priorities that we were intending to use to filter our thinking. And these priorities and the order in which they lay as we think through how to make this possible are shown on this slide here. The first of them is the health and safety of every member of our community. Obviously, given the concerns around COVID-19 and the implications of bringing multiple people together into our school community, we can't not acknowledge those concerns, and we look to guidance to make sure that we're taking care of and keeping everybody healthy. And a question that we've put in front of us to measure this priority is, do we have a plan, or is the plan we have, is this plan in place to promote healthy interactions throughout the school day? And so we have to think about every interaction that transpires during the course of a school day, and as you can imagine, there are many. Following health and safety related to COVID specifically right now, we are asking the question, what's best for kids? You know, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of things to get confused and worried about right now, rightly so. But ultimately, we're in the business of working with and growing kids, and our question has to be, it doesn't matter what we're doing, is this really what's best for kids? We believe coming back to school is. So this is all worth the effort because we believe having kids in school with their teachers learning is really good for them. Behind that, we've got our teachers and staff, and we are asking the question, is what we're asking our teachers to do reasonable? This is a huge question because we are laying on additional responsibilities for our teacher, and we're asking them to stretch themselves in time, energy, and in the way they invest in each child. So it's critical that we consider them in everything. And then we have to look at our quality program for which we're known, and the reason you chose Platte River Academy in the first place is the quality of our program. We have to ask, are the changes we're making, are these shifts in what's going on, is it still honoring our rigorous academic program? Obviously, these are all rhetorical questions, and one would hope that the answer in any solution is yes. And certainly, last but not least, parents and families, all of you who are watching tonight, we also have been asking the question, is what we're asking you to do as parents and families reasonable? Is this truly partnering in the interest of your child? It's these priorities that have focused our attention as we've built this plan together.
So as we pondered these priorities, we also found that metaphors and mental imagery helped us work through the scenarios. So we've actually selected the Rubik's Cube because it best represents what we're challenged to try to tackle together. So we selected the Rubik's Cube because it's a model that has multiple sides, and each of those sides depends on solving the other sides. So we chose to name each side, and you can see them on the slide on the screen here. So the sides that you can see are health and safety, instruction, individual student needs, mental health and social emotional needs, logistics and schedules, the whole child, and the community opportunities. So the main reason we chose the Rubik's Cube as our model is because you can't focus on one side alone when you're trying to solve the entire puzzle, or in our case, the COVID-19 problem. You have to work on all aspects or all sides at the same time. Focusing on one and not the others won't solve the bigger problem. So let's break down each of the sides of our puzzle or our solution for our COVID-19 problem.
And starting with the certainly most pressing side, and also is our guiding priority, it's the health and safety of every member of our community. We care about our staff, our teachers, everybody who works with kids during the day. We certainly care about your kids, and we care about all of you, and how do we do everything in our power to protect everyone's health. Masks are certainly a topic that we have received a lot of questions on. And thank you, by the way, for all the questions you've submitted in advance of tonight's presentation. We've tried to incorporate as many answers throughout the presentation as possible. Related to masks, you know, we definitely had discussions and different perspectives represented, but our plan is based on current research and the information that's available to us from trusted public health officials, and also coupled with what we think is best for kids, considering their developmental needs and ages, and teachers who are going to be working most closely with the kids and our other staff as well as families. So what we've decided to do relative to masks, every staff member will be wearing a mask every day, and masks may be replaced with face shields at some points. For teachers, there are matters of instruction that require a whole face can be visible. Our older students, beginning at 4th grade, so 4th through 8th grade students, are also going to wear masks throughout the school day. We're asking families send children with a mask. You allow them to have some participation in selecting the mask, maybe making it, giving them input into what they're wearing. They are made differently. We all have our preferences about what's most comfortable. We couldn't care less what color it is. So do what you need to do to promote mask wearing for your older students. The younger learners, kindergarten through third grade, will not they'll need a mask as they come to school each day, but we're not going to expect them to wear it all day long in the classroom with their teacher when they're in transition and in a hallway and in throughout the building, or various teachers are coming into their room for different subject instruction. We are going to ask them to put their masks on, but it will be intermittent. It will not be continuous wearing. Older students will have mask breaks throughout the day, including lunch and recess. We won't require them when the kids are at lunch and recess. Now, thinking about other health and safety strategies that we've plugged in, the first one has to be just an agreement that we make between all school personnel and all families. And this is based on our core value of integrity. If the kid's sick, if anyone in your house is sick, and likewise anyone sick at school, we're asking that you just stay home. That is going to be the best decision. We will be cleaning extensively. Mr. McQueen has done a phenomenal job procuring the materials and the chemicals that we need appropriate and approved for children to be used on surfaces, common areas, as well as disinfecting spaces that are shared throughout the day, like restrooms, which, by the way, are being renovated and are going to be lovely. And we're very excited about that. And they will be not only clean and new, but also disinfected throughout the school day. Teachers are also going to be teaching kids how to wash hands, as well as use hand sanitizer. And routines will be built into the academic day where hand washing is conducted. And we're just going to make sure that we're teaching that and monitoring that kids are doing it. We happened to tune in, and perhaps you did as well, to Douglas County School District's board meeting that was held earlier this week. And in that board meeting, Dr. Douglas of Tri-County Health presented information relative to mask wearing, relative to cleaning strategies for schools. And because of his position and who he is, and that he's representing Douglas County at this time, really support our decisions on mask wearing. And so we've pulled a little segment of that video to share with you here that's really about this.
Together a little bit of information about where Douglas County stands with the epidemic now. I think Lisa thought that might be helpful, so if you guys could help me get into that. Thank you very much. As a county, you guys care about Douglas is in turquoise at the bottom. You notice the obvious. Douglas County to date, these are data as of this morning, has had just under 1,300 cases. That's a lot less than Adams and Arapahoe counties, although that's a total case number, not a rate adjusted by population. And I'll show you some population adjusted numbers in just a second. We believe that the use of face masks reduce that. Magic number two is that when you've been you're sick, you need to be in isolation for approximately 10 days. You need to be in isolation for up to 7 days after your symptoms have cleared. Now, the next question is, what happens in a class? Right now, if we have a class where we don't think social distancing's been maintained, and we think there could have been 15 minutes within 6 feet, really everybody in the class, if somebody's sick, needs to be quarantined. Now that feels incredibly draconian, but one of the things that Lisa and Dr. Tucker have worked on have been cohorting strategies to try to keep the number of people who have that kind of mixing to a minimum.
Is the recommendations still standing that we continue, particularly here in Douglas County, open every day, 5 days a week in person?
At this point in time, I think that recommendation does make sense, Dr. Tucker. I think one thing you guys have probably heard, but let me emphasize, kids, especially those less than 10 years old, really do appear to behave very differently than they do with influenza. The younger kids don't get infected very often. They don't get sick very often. They can, but they don't get very often. And when they do get infected, they don't transmit very often. Is one of the things that makes me think that the plans that you all have made, given the current epidemiologic context, makes sense. And I do believe balance is key for us managing and getting through the epidemic. There will not be, unless we all lock ourselves in our basements, a risk-free environment. It's really clear to me that the price our kids paid, social, educational, mental health, for some even nutrition, is really an important price. It's as important a price as, to me, as a business closing and jobs being lost. And those are things that I'm taking into context, Dr. Tucker, when I say that I think we're at a place now where we ought to do full reopening. I pulled together a little bit of information about where Douglas County stands with the epidemic.
Well, all of the work that we've been doing and will continue to do for this one goal of reinstating teaching and learning has gotten us here. So we are providing both e-learning and face-to-face options for next year. Your family will get to choose, and I will cover the e-learning model, and Mrs. Bonner will cover the face-to-face model. So as you can see here on this slide, e-learning is going to be different than what you experience for remote learning in the spring. It's very important for you to evaluate the different strategies that we're going to be implementing, because we've worked very hard based on the feedback that we got from the SAC survey, so from you, our families, and we want to make sure that if your family does elect for either one or all of your children to do an e-learning solution, that it is meaningful, rigorous, and provides what you've come to expect at Platte River, which is an academically rigorous program. So you can see that this will be available for every family. We are asking that you make a decision for the entire semester. We may update that for second quarter, but at this point we're saying that it's an entire semester commitment. You will receive a survey that after tonight's town hall that you must complete, and it'll tell us if you intend per child to use an e-learning solution or a face-to-face solution. So teachers will be broadcasting live sessions in reading and language arts classes daily. This will be an interactive session for students participating in the e-learning at home. So kids will receive instruction from the teacher and will be able to ask questions with their classmates just as though they were in the class live. Parent involvement will be necessary at the outset and hopefully can decline over time once we get norms established, especially for the older kids. The younger kids will definitely need some support. Other subjects like science and social studies will be more like the spring remote learning model, but may include synchronous aspects as well. Special classes as well will be predominantly asynchronous or not together for students who are e-learning. So different from the remote learning in the spring, we will be providing textbooks, workbooks, and other learning materials for students that are engaged in e-learning. So not all learning will take place online. We recommend at this point, we are also following different guidelines from different health agencies here in the Colorado Front Range area, nationally, and locally with the CDC guidance that you heard a little about from Dr. Douglas about. So what we are going to do is recommend a vacation bridge based on all of these agencies' best thinking. Now that vacation bridge will go from Thanksgiving through winter break. So the rationale behind this recommendation is about limiting the potential for virus transmission following family travel, as well as attempting to avoid the beginning of flu season, which may create false positives. We may have students that are sick without COVID, but we anticipate that as a big situation. So we want to make sure that everyone has e-learning tools and norms and is comfortable with it, because we won't be in person during the vacation bridge between Thanksgiving and winter break.
Right. And what Mr. McQueen was just referring to, the guidance about adjustments to calendar to limit transmission after family travel, is also the reason for our elimination of fall break this year. We have moved to just teach continuously all the way up to Thanksgiving. So what's happening in the school building for face-to-face instruction certainly will, for the most part, it's going to look like it has in the past, with obviously some adjustments. We're going to have to make modifications to the school day and many classrooms and daily routines based on health and safety guidelines, as is the case in most schools. Affording 6 feet between students at all times during the day is simply not feasible. For this reason, health experts recommend that schools focus their planning efforts not on arranging furniture, but rather on grouping kids in groups, fixed groups. We're calling cohorts, they call it cohort planning. And what this does is it allows us to really keep a group of kids together for the bulk of the day. For our planning purposes, this is homeroom groupings as well as grade level groupings. And by keeping them together, we believe we're minimizing effect to the entire school should something eventually come up. As kids are engaged in in-person learning with their teacher, they will be in the classroom, and we will rely on this cohort planning. We want to and know that when kids are all sitting in desks facing one direction and wearing a mask, that opportunities to collaborate and socialize are going to have to be constructed very deliberately by the teachers, and we know that it's essential to do that. So that's part of our planning work, is to make sure that kids don't feel like, nor do we assume they are robotic and just sitting straight up in a chair all day, because that's not going to work for anyone. Likewise, we are incorporating brain breaks, which are just opportunities to kind of laugh and talk about something, not, or maybe work a little puzzle or something not academic related, as well as motor breaks, because kids won't be engaging in the typical transitions through their school day as they have in the past. So we need to make sure, teachers need to make sure they're putting in plans so that kids have opportunities to move and get their bodies going. We will have recess, of course. There also needs to be time added in so that, kids do have these hand washing routines, or surfaces can be cleaned in between kids changing rooms or sitting in different desks. So that's all been built in. It's important to note that whether you select e-learning for your children or not, it should be assumed for everyone that e-learning will be in place at some point in the year. Like specifically during the vacation bridge that Mr. McQueen mentioned, there could be other points in the year where we are required to learn from distance, and that means everybody is going to engage in e-learning for that stretch of time. So as he referenced, also Mr. McQueen referenced that we'll be sending an email to you following this presentation asking you to indicate which learning path that you prefer your child take. And to make this decision, you may wish to read through some additional materials which we've attached to the email that will be sent to you. Our planning depends on your decision. So we won't know what we're doing until you inform us what you're thinking. And we ask that you complete that survey by July 22nd to support best planning for us. You're basically choosing one direction or the other. As Mr. McQueen pointed out, we want you to commit for the semester. Now, at the end of second quarter, right during parent-teacher conferences, which, yes, will look different this year, but that's not for tonight's discussion. During conferences, it would be a great conversation for you to have with your child's teacher whether or not the e-learning route is working and if you want to resume in-person instruction. And that would be available to you at that time to decide for second quarter. In these decisions, you can see when we asked at the beginning of June where you stood, whether you were interested in in-person or e-learning opportunities, 80% of our families indicated they were ready to come back. Now, those numbers may very well have shifted, and it's important also that you know that our decision making, while it was informed by what parents shared with us, it was not the basis for our decisions. We took it into consideration for sure. In order to make this seamless and to equip every kid with what they need through the school day, as well as during e-learning and those times when we find ourselves learning at home, every child is going to be issued a PRA device this year. So older students will receive Chromebooks, and the youngers, kindergarten and first grade, will receive iPads. And those are going to be assigned to the child to use when at home and also when at school for the duration of the school year.
So obviously we treat every child independently. We plan for large groups of kids, but we want to make sure that we're hitting every individual student's needs. We're in the business of meeting these kids where they are. Typically this means doing things for a child in a way that works for them, which may or may not be different than others in the same class. Many of you have heard of our program called Panther Time, which allows us to dedicate staff and resources to support the various needs of every learner. This year, we're going to have to creatively reimagine how we bring kids and teachers together for this type of work. We will continue to support and provide intervention for those who need it, including our e-learners. We fully recognize that some of the in-person conditions may be upsetting or difficult for some of our kiddos to manage. Face masks, for example. If a 4th through 8th grade student has a difficulty transitioning to the new school environment, we will absolutely work out a solution on a case-by-case basis. Please let us know if this is the case for your child. This is another video that we pulled from the Douglas County School Board meeting on Monday night that we think really does also address and support some of the plans that we're making for individual student learners.
If you can't maintain 6 feet of distance, then perhaps mask wearing becomes more important. And we know that if all students are in all seats, that the social distancing is going to be extremely challenging. So the next, several mitigation strategies in this tiered platform that Children's Colorado uses and is aligned with the American Academy of Pediatrics guidance would be to institute strict hand washing and then utilize those face coverings when possible. And we know there are specific populations where that's not going to be easy. Our students with disabilities or medical conditions that don't allow that. Then moving down the tiers, what's the next best thing we could do? We could put face shields on those folks, especially for our SLPs who have to, the importance of reading a face is really critical in those therapies. So, and if that's not done, then what else can we do? We could back those students away from that and institute better social distancing. So there are combinations of strategies that could work to maximize the reduction of spread of COVID for every student population. And
I'll say a couple of things. First of all, the older kids are far and away the more important. They're bigger. They appear to be more infectious. It looks like around 10 or 11 is when, below that age is when the viral transmission appears to go down. Above it, it appears to be higher and higher. Again, it's not an absolute cut point, but sort of a gradation. So I would say the older kids really is where the energy ought to be. So that a big part of the equation is your staff and your teachers. And they are much more likely to be those who are vulnerable and could get infected. I honestly think we ought to be trying to encourage it as much as possible down to kindergarten. There are clearly kids who have trouble with having cloth over their face, either because of breathing problems or because of underlying behavioral issues, or kids who the teacher needs to see their face. And I think we want to try to figure out a way that gives the teacher that sort of really autonomy in a classroom to make that, with the notion that the default in circumstances as much as possible ought to be wearing the mask.
Another side of our Rubik's Cube that is near and dear to my heart is the mental health and social emotional needs of PRA students, teachers, families, all the way around. It is definitely a side of the Rubik's Cube, and it deserves attention and focus and deliberate planning. I think we can all agree that the uncertainties and absence of routine since March has caused some degree of stress and anxiety. Everyone has been affected by COVID-19 in some way. Because PRA is such a strong community, we really felt this absence of everything the school day represents and provides for us: routines, friendships, collaboration, discussions, and just the smiles and the daily proximity to people we care about. That is a difficult one to go without. School is a social experience. It's very hard to remove the social from learning. We believe coming back together will help a great deal, but just coming back to school will not be enough. We're committed to community as we come back together, because we actually won't all be together. Some are going to elect to stay home, and that means we have to intentionally work to connect and stay engaged. Staff will be working together in support of our students, and we'll still be using the second step SEL curriculum, social emotional learning curriculum, to guide our students through feelings and how they're processing this. It also works with mindset and taking care of your attitude and how to take a day that's not going your way. We've also been fortunate enough through some CARES Act money to increase the time that our K-3 counselor will be able to be at Platte River, and we're very thankful for that. She's going to be able to spend more time in classrooms working with teachers this year. And we're prepared to direct time to our kids' social emotional health, and we know that our teachers and staff will also be needing support in this area. It's just going to have to be something we consciously consider. There are certainly things out of our control right now. Really, the only thing that we can control is our attitude and our expectations for ourselves and one another. We're challenging everyone. I'm sorry. I'm talking about choosing your attitude, and choosing how we approach this challenging situation is really essential. Our kids are watching us, and they're looking to us for guidance in how to move through something this challenging. We're encouraging everyone to get curious, wonder, rather than be discouraged at all the things that we can't do or can't control. Wondering how something could work rather than assuming it can't work is a great start. And then we need to really dig in and get creative. There's a way to make this work in spite of all the conditions that surround us. There's always a way through. And finally, we know when we come together and collaborate and share brains and think together, we truly can accomplish anything. It's really through our attitude and our efforts to encounter this situation with that attitude that we're going to ride through and we're going to lead our kids through.
So logistics is quite possibly the most complicated of the sides of our Rubik's Cube. So in order to make all these health and safety guidelines work, in order to have e-learning as a daily opportunity, in order to separate kids and manage cohort groupings, all of that's going to be managed through the logistics side of our Rubik's Cube. So we're having to make several adjustments based on the health and safety recommendations. So you can see here on our logistics slide that we are also proposing some pretty significant schedule changes. So the first schedule change that we feel you need to understand and be aware of is that we're going to add 30 minutes to each school day. Rather than dismiss at 3:15, we are going to be dismissing at 3:45. Now that affords us time for the hand washing routines that we're planning on and stretching out our schedule for cleaning between groups. It also affords us time and flexibility to provide more teacher planning. So we know that teachers are going to be working significantly more in order to provide both in-person and at-home instruction. Now we've set about different technological methods and training for our teachers, but we know that it is going to be a significant time commitment. So how do we get them more planning time? Well, those 30 minutes a day, every day, will afford us some more instructional time. So what we can do is we can, on alternating Fridays or every other Friday, have a non-student contact day where teachers will be able to plan for the remainder of the week, follow up, do the assessment that they need to do, and actually look at all of the assessment data that will be coming in, because it is going to be a significant amount of time looking back over those kids that are in the e-learning environment, because they're not with those kids every day to see exactly what's going on. Another significant logistical change that we want to make sure that everyone's aware of, and Mrs. Bonner alluded to it earlier, is we are going to eliminate fall break. We will be teaching through fall break. Now this is based on recommendations from health agencies to compress our calendar. We want to limit the amount of times that families will travel. We want to get as much of the learning cycle underway before we go on Thanksgiving break and then our vacation bridge, because we anticipate more, hopefully not a rise in COVID, but more influenza. So we've got to make sure that we get as many minutes of instruction done before that vacation bridge begins. We also want to make sure that we know where our learners are. So even though we'll be on the vacation bridge, we are asking that families be prepared to come in for some small group assessments. We have benchmarks to complete. We want to make sure that we know how students are doing with regard to their learning pathway, and we want to make sure that we have that data mid-year. So the next area that is going to cause some logistical changes is going to be around our lunch and recess schedule. We know that the kindergartners need their own environment. We don't feel that it's always completely safe to have them out with other students on the playground. They're really learning how to navigate school, and there are 44 of them, and we want to make sure that they all have a chance to play what they want and not to be intimidated by older kids. Not that our older kids are intimidating, but it's just something that we've learned through all the years of working with kindergartners. So they will actually lunch as a group and not interact with our other students in the cafeteria at all. We've purchased picnic tables exclusively for them. We think that that will really keep their cohort group tight. They have their own bathrooms. They won't be interacting with any of the bathrooms. We just feel like this is going to be the safest situation. Now, we're going to have our other grades go in grade level pairs. So first and second will be paired, third and fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, eighth. So we will have them come to the lunchroom. One class will be in the lunchroom at the lunch tables, all socially distant, and there will be 50 to 54 of those students in the lunchroom. The other grade in that grade level pair will be outside at picnic tables that we've purchased for this time. So they will rotate. So a class will be, or a grade level will be in the lunchroom in the gym for a week, and then the next week they would be outside at picnic tables. We obviously are going to have to be prepared for inclement weather, but internally, locally, in our conversations, we've just deemed that there will be no rain or snow during the COVID season. But obviously we are going to be flexible and dynamic and adjust accordingly. There will clearly be disinfecting before students go to lunch. There will be disinfecting after they're done. And after they are finished eating, we'll move them to the playground or the field. We'll be dividing them up. They will all have hand wipes but after they get finished with lunch, and that will take care of allergens from whatever they were eating. It'll also just clean them up. It'll sanitize and disinfect their hands. But they'll go, if a grade level that was in the lunchroom will go to the playground for the week. The grade level that was outside at the picnic tables will go to the field for the week. And then there's that rotation that'll happen. So every kid will have a chance to play with their entire grade level peers And they will be outside. They won't be wearing masks during the time that they're eating or the time that they are at recess. They will have to have had a mask with them, so they'll put it in their lunchbox, and then they'll don that mask again as they come back into the building. And then you can kind of see the pattern we have there. It's really important that we also let you know about some of the other major changes we're going to have to make. Field trips at this point are not permissible. We won't be putting kids on buses. We won't be taking them to any of the museums or local attractions. So at this point, we are canceling all first semester field trips. We're also canceling all core knowledge events. Core knowledge events are incredibly valuable at Platte River Academy. However, the benefit versus the cost of doing it with regard to cross cohorting and volunteers is just not worth it. We won't be holding awards assemblies this year at a minimum for the first semester, but it may be the entire year. We are very, very upset about this, but we are having to cancel our Veterans Day assembly, which is a huge part of our culture here. But we are still going to be celebrating veterans, and we will be making sure that veterans know that Platte River students, families, and the community at large are thinking about them and appreciate their service. Volunteerism is another element of the logistics that we're also going to have to change dramatically. We know that adults are the primary carriers. We've seen plenty of different research that shows that students are not as significant of a community spread concern as adults. So we want to make sure that adults are not in the building other than the staff. So there are going to have to be different ways to volunteer. We know that there will need to be room parent information sessions. How are you a supportive room parent? What can you do to get your parent community to feel connected? Crossing guards will still be a need. We'll want to make sure that everyone signs up for that. Mrs. Kruglet has actually put some of those events in sign up so that you can get signed up. Thank you. She's an amazing person and really does bring volunteerism to life here. So we're just thankful to have people like her and Ms. Tomic and all the incredible people that here support all of these different endeavors. Because there will be fewer opportunities for volunteering, we are also going to be lowering the expectations. That doesn't mean that we don't need your help. We need a lot more support. We're just going to have to get curious and creative and collaborate on how we can actually get the volunteerism to support the kids and this new model as we go through this season of COVID-19. There will still be take-home projects, and there will be plenty of other opportunities. We're just working through what like the lunch and recess volunteers would look like, and we'll be coming to you as we get more clarification from health agencies on that.
As you know, one of our guiding principles is developing the whole child. And we have created over the years a robust set of opportunities to accomplish this. All kinds of activities from chess club to choir to after school athletics. I mean, the list is endless, the add-on opportunities that kids have to engage and be involved here at school. And unfortunately, COVID is making us change the way we do these things. The access to spaces and the bringing kids together in these ways is just not going to be feasible as we look to first semester. So there are some activities that we're having to either reimagine or let go of for a stretch of time. For example, I mentioned chess and choir, but also the NJHS after school tutoring. That was a wonderful help to families who utilized it, as well as terrific work and leadership for those older students to provide that support. Kids Stage, which is, just a great organization that comes in and works with kids to present a play, as well as Land Sharks. Goodness, everybody loves that. But those are activities that really promote large gatherings and mixing and matching of kid groups, cohorts, and that is off the table. We are still looking at how we could do some athletics. May or may not involve, likely will not involve competition with other schools at this time. one way that we want to engage the community, as we said more than once, we're committed to community. We recognize the need is higher than ever to keep you plugged in, to keep us all feeling like the PRA family. And we want to keep that as a theme and intentionally plan activities that are going to bring us together. And one way to do that is to host forums monthly, given a topic, but really just an opportunity to engage people. And it would likely be done virtually. So something that people could tune into, not necessarily physically attend, but we can share a little information, get a little input from you, and really just stay connected. Also, communication is something that we have talked a lot about, how to keep you updated when the news seems to change literally by the minute. So we're doing everything we can to digest it and then filter through and determine what is necessary to pass forward to you. But safe to say, if it affects the plan involving your child attending Platte River Academy, it's our responsibility to keep you informed. So I think this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you get an email from PRA News, that's a email you want to read. We're going to try to be very judicious and intentional with the communication we share, but when you receive an email from PRA News, it means we're trying to tell you something or we need feedback from you. So you might get an email or newsletter through this email address. For example, as soon as we're finished here tonight, an email will come to you from PRA News, and it's going to kind of go through what we've shared. It's going to have some attached references for you, and it's going to include the form that we're asking you to complete, indicating your preference for attendance this year. Also, because of the town hall at PRA K8 email being a host site for these great avenues to communicate with you, you all have submitted an amazing amount of questions related to coming back to school, and we can't thank you enough for thinking with us, for sharing your thoughts with us. You're bringing up legitimate concerns. Hopefully we were able to inform you about some of those tonight. We really tried to integrate the most frequently asked questions, but certainly we didn't get to everything. And we have opened up a new page on our website that is specific to the e-learning reality and opening school in the fall. So there's an FAQ page there, and you may get your answer there if it wasn't answered by us tonight. We haven't talked about this yet, and it's critically important. Originally on our school calendar, August 11th through 14th was going to be our first week of school. And traditionally, in past years, Platte River Academy has always had small group or individual assessment appointments for students in kindergarten through third grade. And at that time, you would have received a postcard where your child is going to meet with Mrs. Broquet at 9 o'clock Tuesday morning on, whatever the day that is, the 11th. Well, this year, K through 3 isn't good enough. Our teachers need to meet with every kid, all grade levels. And likewise, Mr. McQueen and I need to sit with you and meet with you, giving you the background information you need to run this year seamlessly. Now, we want to set everybody up for success, and we feel like the best way to do that is to commit some time to spending this time together. So we are going to be organizing and scheduling families to come that week, 11th through the 14th. It's a Tuesday through a Friday in an AM or a PM session. It's a 2-hour stretch of time. You come as a family. Everybody gets in the car. You drive to Platte River. You get out of the car. Mom or dad goes to the gym to meet with Mr. McQueen and me and to be oriented to the school year. We won't have registration this year. We don't have a lot of our typical means to connect with you. So this is our chance to really give you the latest information right before school starts. So you'll come to the gym for that information, while each of your kids, your third grader is going to go to her classroom and meet with her teacher. Your fifth grader is going to go to his classroom and meet with that teacher. And everybody's going to be occupied in your family for that 2-hour stretch. They'll be with their teacher, you'll be with us. And at the end, you're going to come back together. You're going to be so well informed and feel really good about starting. And you're going to go get in your car and drive home. And then school's going to start on the 17th for everybody. So these appointments, it's going to be, creative planning to get them all scheduled and to get to every family. So one of the questions in the survey we're sharing with you tonight asks you for your preference of an AM or a PM. Unfortunately, we can't give you full preference like which day of the week or whatever. But if you want to indicate which works better for you and your family, we say assessment, but actually the time your child is spending with the classroom teacher, we're not going to give them tests for 2 hours. Good gravy. They haven't been in school for months, and that is not how we're spending time together. They're going to be engaged in lots of activities in there, and there will be other children with them along with the teacher, and they will be just getting to know each other. The teacher will conduct some assessments, nothing formal. It's really just to get a sense of where each child is and what they're ready for in terms of returning to school. Even families who are electing e-learning are included. You will also be expected to come to these meetings that week. We hope that it doesn't cause an inconvenience, since they were already scheduled to be, student days, and that's when our school year was already going to begin. We're going to just do it differently and lay the time out. Our teachers really need a chance to meet your kid and get to know your kid a little bit before we jump into this new way of learning. So thank you in advance for taking the survey, and thank you in advance for making that an important commitment and coming to the appointment as you're scheduled. So, go ahead.
So as Mrs. Bonner had mentioned, we will have a new website, or a new web page on our website that will host the latest information related to opening school in the fall. So you'll find a comprehensive FAQ section there. So that FAQ section can't answer every question independently. As Ms. Bonner had mentioned, we've had seemingly thousands of questions that have come our way. So we've spent a significant amount of time and effort. Thank you to Mrs. Rice for leading us in this great work. She is an incredible writer and an incredible thinker, and she's really helping us organize all of this. So she, as well as our leadership team, have put themes or categories to the questions. And so if you don't see the exact language from your question, please know that it is represented. So we'll continue to update those questions and answers to keep you informed. Admittedly, not all questions have answers right now, but we expect to have more details to share in August. So we'll have the opportunity for this information to be shared related to the school year. One of the things that Ms. Bonner was, she was talking through the 2-hour sessions that we're asking parents to come to, you will be receiving your child's device, either Chromebook or iPad. So it's really important for you to be here, and that you can understand the terms of that rental agreement and also pick up that equipment, so that when we are ready to open on August 17th, with all students coming back to school, everyone will be prepared.
I think it's really important to stress that it doesn't honestly matter to us which direction you choose to go. You're the only one who can make that decision for your family. You know your kids and you know what they need. And we trust you to do what is best for your kids and your family. So please don't think that there's any difference to us. We want to serve everybody and do the very best that we can. We are committed to community, and we very much want to make sure we're engaging everybody. So it's not a divided enterprise here. This is very much about our community and how we give everybody what they need. So asking you to come and spend time with us is critical to help us understand what you need and to work with you and to make sure that this is going to be a successful year. we want to do this right. So the slow go at the beginning to get it right and to put plans in place really will help us all in the long run. And we so appreciate your attention here. Also, hey, tomorrow the express check-in whole system for starting a new school year in Infinite Campus will come your way. And I believe that's going to be a button on our website.
Yep.
That'll be a button on our website, and we invite you to do that as soon as possible, because that's also going to be where you see all the forms and everything that you're doing. It's a virtual registration essentially, and we need all that information updated. Email is most important to us because that's how we're getting in touch with you. Also, make sure you have updated cell phone numbers in there, because our ability to reach out and contact you is essential. So we are committed to you, and we are committed to community this year. And we can't thank you enough for tuning in and giving us 1 hour of your life to learn more about what we're planning. We will keep going with the newsletters, and we will keep reaching out to you and keep you up to date. Any questions that come to your mind, please continue to submit them to that town hall email, and that FAQ page will be updated. And Mr. McQueen and I tune into those so that we remain current in what you're thinking about, so that we intentionally discuss and plan for those worries. As always, if you have something in particular you'd like to discuss with either one of us, please reach out via email, and we will make a time to get together with you and talk through whatever is on your mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night and a great week. And we look forward to seeing all of you at our parent sessions in August, and seeing your kids back with their smiling faces, and getting back to the PRA way of doing things. We miss you all, and we hope you all stay safe and are well. Have a great night.